Hello, my friends. Mrs. Lemansky back again to read to you. Today, I am going to share one of my absolute favorite folk tales that I've loved since I was a little kid. I still love it. So remember that a folk tale is a story like a fairy tale or a fable. It's the same kind of thing where it's something that originally was probably passed down verbally, orally, from generation to generation. So many times we have no idea who originally wrote this story, but lots of people have retold the story over the years. Today, we are going to read the story of Robin Hood. And you will see that on the cover it only says illustrated by Alan Marks. And again, that's because the person who's writing this particular book did not make up the story. He is doing a retelling. So when I open the book, it says retold by Lloyd Jones. So we are going to read the story of Robin Hood as retold by Lloyd Jones and illustrated by Alan Marks. Are you ready? Let's read. It was a quiet night in Sherwood Village, yet someone was creeping through the dark. From his bedroom window, Jack Fletcher watched the shadowy figure flit from roof to roof. "It's Robin Hood," he whispered. Jack longed to meet Robin Hood, the famous outlaw who robbed from the rich and gave to the poor. That night, Robin Hood left purses by the villagers' doors, filled with glittering gold coins. So Robin Hood was an outlaw. He was a criminal, but his crime was an interesting one. He didn't just steal from people. He stole from rich people. And instead of keeping what he stole, he gave it to all the poor people. But the very next day, the sheriff of Nottingham rode into the village. "Give me your money," he barked, "or I'll have you all arrested." The king was overseas, so now the sheriff thought he could do whatever he pleased. So this was at the time of King Richard, and he was off leading his army in a war overseas outside of England. So the sheriff really had absolute control of the town where he was in Nottingham. Jack hated the sheriff of Nottingham. When no one was looking, he scooped up some horse dung, that's horse poop, and hurled it splat in his face. The sheriff went red with rage. "Arrest that boy," he sputtered. "Run, Jack," his father cried. So that might have seemed like a silly thing to do, to throw horse poop at someone, but obviously, if you're throwing it at the sheriff, at an officer of the law, you're going to get in a lot of trouble for that. Jack fled to Sherwood Forest. His heart was pounding and tears trickled down his cheeks. From the safety of the forest, Jack saw soldiers dragging his father away. He was being arrested, and it was all Jack's fault. Branches creaked and groaned as Jack stumbled deeper into the forest. Ahead, a lone rider appeared between the tangled trees. Jack recognized her at once. It was Lady Marian, the king's cousin. "I'm lost," Jack sobbed, "and my father's been arrested." Marian smiled at him. "Don't worry," she said. "I know someone who can help." They rode to a clearing in the forest with a circle of huts around a crackling fire. "What is this place?" Jack asked. "It's our hideout," a voice called. Four outlaws hid among the trees. "I'm Will Scarlet," said the first, sitting on a branch. "I'm Little John," said another, rubbing his bushy red beard. "And my name's Friar Tuck," said the third with a cheery wave. Jack already knew who the fourth man was. "Robin Hood!" he gasped. "Will you help me rescue my father?" Robin led Jack back to the village. "Your father is held deep inside the sheriff's castle," he said, "and the castle is a dangerous place. We must wait until the time is right to rescue him." So Jack learned to live like an outlaw. He robbed from the rich and gave to the poor. Robin's gang taught him how to fight with a sword. Take that! And he learned to fire arrows with skill and speed. Jack loved being part of Robin's gang, but he couldn't forget his father, locked up in the sheriff's castle. One day, while Robin and Jack were alone in the hideout, Marian came charging up. "The village is on fire!" she cried. The villagers wandered among the smoky ruins. "It was the sheriff's soldiers," they told Robin. "They captured the rest of your gang." "It's time to fight back," Robin declared, flourishing his sword. In the dead of night, Robin and Jack snuck up to the sheriff's castle. They dropped onto the moonlit wall. Everything was eerily quiet. Suddenly, a door burst open. Guards lunged at Robin, whirling their swords. Steel blades clashed and clanged. Robin twisted and twirled, driving the guards back into the castle. But there were too many guards with too many swords. "I've got you now," snarled the Sheriff of Nottingham. Just then, the castle gate flew open. Marian and the villagers stormed inside. "Charge!" they shouted, and a fierce battle began. Jack and Marian raced down to the castle dungeon to free the prisoners. "Father!" Jack cried. Jack's father scooped him up in a big hug. "Hooray for Jack!" the prisoners cheered. "He's saved us all!" But the fight wasn't over yet. Back in the hall, the sheriff refused to surrender. "You can't stop me," he growled. "No," boomed a voice from the castle entrance. "But I can." Who do you think that voice belongs to, my friends? Who is more powerful than the sheriff? "You're back!" Marian cried as the king strode into the castle. The sheriff's sword clattered to the ground. He tried to run away, but Jack tripped him up and he tumbled headlong into the dark dungeon. Silently, Robin and his gang slipped away into Sherwood Forest. "Robin Hood!" Jack called. "Will I ever see you again?" "You will," the outlaw replied, "whenever you need me." And there you can see Robin Hood hiding in Sherwood Forest. The end. I hope you enjoyed that one, my friends. I loved sharing it with you. That was always just one of my favorite adventure tales when I was younger. I watched every movie version. I've read so many different book versions of it. I love it. And I hope you did too. Until next time, I miss you, I love you, and I will see you soon. Mwah.